President Trump sort of trying to say things that maybe a regular leader other leader might laugh at or smile at, and Vladimir Putin was just dead-eyed looking at him, not responding in any way. Ambassador Bolton, you've been obviously, you were in Helsinki, you were the National Security Advisor. What do you make of what you saw from the president?
I think Trump did not lose, but Putin clearly won. Trump didn't come away with anything except more meetings. Putin has, I think, gone a long way to reestablishing the relationship, which I've always believed was his key goal. He has escaped sanctions. He's not facing a ceasefire. The next meeting is not set. Zelensky was not told any of this before this press conference. It's far from over, but I'd say Putin achieved most of what he wanted. Trump achieved very little. And I will say one other thing. I thought Trump looked very tired up there. I mean, very tired. Not disappointed, tired. And we'll have to reflect on what that means.
Vladimir Putin said, I believe, we've turned the page, not referring to Ukraine, but more to, do you know what it referred to, or what was your sense?
I think he meant the U.S.-Russia relationship, but what he really means is the Vlad-Donald relationship.
That's what makes this so extraordinary, though. He said we've turned the page back to cooperation. He mentioned he was hopeful there would be space cooperation between the United States and Russia. He mentioned maybe in the Arctic there would be cooperation. He said, yes, Ukraine deserves security guarantees, but we know what Putin believes, how he would secure Ukraine. He has a very difference of opinion. And he talked about how they have such a fantastic relationship and turn the page. The American president could have said, maybe we will turn the page, maybe we can do all those things, but first, you have to end this war. And he didn't. He, in fact, said the relationship was fantastic. So he went for a ceasefire. He leaves with nothing. Putin got a flyover, a red carpet, a lot of handshakes, and a lot of great state TV coverage back home.
I think it's even deeper. He got out of diplomatic penalty box. 3 minutes are up. Yeah, Putin did. He's got the ability, the fourth threat of sanctions not issued. I think that's why he came here, was to avoid sanctions again and keep the economy, while it's rickety, afloat, and he's allowed and permitted to keep the war with no political consequences back home on that. So I actually think, while I understand that you said Trump didn't lose, I actually think Putin came out of here more significant a winner because he has no sanctions, no economic or political isolation, and he keeps the war going for what he wants. And I sit here, we watch this, we've been waiting. I think I know less today than I did when this started.
Jill Doherty, former Moscow bureau chief. I mean, you've read Russian tea leaves for many decades.
Yeah, well, I mean, he hasn't changed his position. I mean, he is talking about root causes. Yeah. And he even, if I understood that part correctly, seems to be saying that President Trump is trying to get to the crux of the issues as well. It almost sounded as if, maybe this is too much, but they had convinced Trump of these root causes. And as we know, root causes are NATO, let's...
In his view, those are the root causes.
Yes, so...
NATO
I think it's extraordinary.
Not good.
If that weren't the case... Hi, everybody. If that weren't the case, in terms of talking to your audience at home, if that's the implication that they read into it, and it's an affirmation of his position, that's good. The thing that was interesting to see is just how artful Putin was at tickling Trump's funny bones. He took a shot at Biden, and he said, "I can confirm that the war wouldn't have happened if Trump were there." That's like music to Trump's ears, and you could hear Trump. You could sense that was landed well with him. And then he started talking about Russia, and he went all back. I mean, Putin is remember when we went to Moscow in 2009 and Putin was talking to President Obama and he said, you're an educated man. I'm just an old security apparatchik. Well, you saw some of the old security apparatchiks.
I'm just a country lawyer doing what he wants.
The question I have is, other leaders around the world irritate the president. He slaps tariffs on them.
Right.
He punishes them. Now, time and time again, he menaces Putin with action, and then he never does anything. And now Putin has gotten himself an extension for what we don't know, for how long we don't know, but we know that every day is to his benefit at this point. So it's concerning.
Four sanction red lines have all been crossed and never a consequence, and he gets to continue the war.
Yeah, I think the answer may be that Putin convinced him on certain things that were essential to Zelensky, that Trump was being told, you got to advance Zelensky's agenda on this, and Putin convinced him that that was not right, possibly on the question of the security guarantees, that he was just very clear on that. But I think Putin really got what he wanted from Trump. And if Trump had been irate, he would have called things off. Putin has gotten to him. I think that's very clear.
What then was the point of this meeting?
Well, I think the press conference underscored something that Ambassador McFaul and Ali Velshi and I have been talking about since 4 p.m. Eastern. I mean, this was, for Trump, a television production that may have been rooted in different motives, but one of them was likely to change the topic of news coverage. It succeeded in that. We've all been covering this all day, for better or for worse. But clearly, Trump was not in control of anything. I mean, Putin was the alpha all day long, from Trump holding on his plane and waiting for him like a, middle schooler waiting for their first date. The red carpet that rolled out and the choreography. I mean, I went to dozens of foreign trips with the president. It is very rare to have a red carpet and then an ascent to a platform and then a walk down the stairs into a limo together. I won't say it's never happened, but it's exceedingly rare, to the point that I can't think of it ever happening before. And then Donald Trump, don't stand between Donald Trump and a scrum of reporters asking questions if you don't want to be stampeded. There's no way it was Donald Trump's decision or request to take no questions. He'd be talking until 9 p.m. Eastern if he'd been in control of anything that happened today.
It began, Ali Velshi, with Putin calling the U.S. and Russia dear neighbors.
Yeah, talking about how close
we are. There was a history lesson about Alaska somewhere in there, and then it ended with an invitation for the President of the United States to come to Moscow.
This is like my lunch every day. It's a lot of production and not many calories. The Alaska, as a Russian colony until 1867, it was going in a direction that Donald Trump, I don't know if he's right up on that. Then he talked about...
No, he got a history lesson here, too.
Yeah, no, he talked about... The Alaska, as a Russian colony until 1867, it was going in a direction that Donald Trump, I don't know if he's right up on that. Then he talked about...
No, he got a history lesson here, too.
Yeah, no, he talked about... Putin said the relations between the United States and Russia have fallen to their lowest point since the Cold War. As if that just kind of happened, right? Like we just grew out of touch. Some grass has grown between us. He did say that they see Ukraine as a brotherly nation, and naturally the security of Ukraine should be addressed as well. Again, forgetting, and with Donald Trump, he wouldn't remember this, but in 1994, there was an actual agreement when Ukraine had the nuclear weapons, and they said, we're going to give them up.
All right, stop right there. Did you hear what just happened? Because what we just witnessed was not some friendly diplomatic exchange. It was a masterclass in manipulations, and Donald Trump was the student. From the very first frame, the body language told the entire story. Trump leaning in, searching for approval, tossing out half-baked lines that a competent leader might deliver with authority, and Putin, dead-eyed, unmoved, calculating. The former KGB officer did not crack a smile, didn't offer a laugh. He didn't need to. That's the posture of someone who already knows they are in control. And then John Bolton of all people spells out, Trump didn't lose, but Putin clearly won. That's a politic diplomatic way of saying our president just got played. No sanctions, no ceasefire, no concessions from Moscow. Just more meetings that Putin can use as propaganda back home. Let's be clear, Putin walked away with everything he wanted and paid nothing for it. He got a red carpet welcome, a flyover endless, the state media, footage of him being treated like a world-class statesman, all without having to end the war, withdraw troops, or even pretended to compromise. And Trump, he looked tired, not disappointed, tired like a man who realized too late that the deal he thought he was cutting was never on the table in the first place. Now here's where it gets jaw-dropping. Putin said, we have turned the page. And he was not talking about ending the war in Ukraine. He was talking about his relationship with Trump, in other words. Never mind the bombs, never mind the suffering. What matters to Putin is that the Donald Trump bromance is back in business. You did expect an American president to say, sure, we can turn the page, but first, in your war. Trump didn't. Instead, he enjoyed Putin's optimism about a fantastic relationship. He left without a ceasefire, without sanctions, without a single substantive win. Think about that. The man who promised he had been the greatest dealmaker in history couldn't even get a compliment to stop killing civilians. But somehow he found time for flattery and handshakes. Etiquette works. We learned that Putin not only dodged additional sanctions, but he has been granted permission, in effect, to keep waging war without political consequence at home. His economy still limping along, but no new punishments from the US. His isolation over the summit broke it, and Trump was the holding scissors. Then came the detail that should make every American's blood run cold. The Russians are euphoric. Russian media is wall to wall with images of Trump smiling alongside Putin. They celebrating the fact that Trump has agreed a possible future summit. Maybe even in Moscow, Russian officials are calling the atmosphere positive and upbeat. Why could not they be? Putin didn't have to change his position 1 inch. His talking points about root cause, meaning NATO, Western influence, and Ukraine's sovereignty have not changed since the day he invaded, and yet somehow he walked away from meeting, convincing Trump that these root causes were valid. And did you catch the bait? Putin danced. He took a shot at Biden just enough to make Trump smile. They claimed the war would not have happened if Trump were president. That's not diplomacy. That's psychological warfare. That's a KGB Western shocking Trump ego to get exactly what he wants. By the way, do you know what didn't happen? A single tangible benefit for the United States, no new agreements, no path to peace, no assurance for our allies. Europe is deflated, Ukraine is depressed, and here at home, we are left confused and alarmed. And if you think this was just a bad press conference, think again. The White House let Putin speak first. They let him define the outcome of meeting before Trump even opened his mouth. That's like letting the opposing team call the score before the game's over and then nodding along. This was not diplomacy, this was capitulations, and history is going to remember it as the day Donald Trump handled Putin the case to keep his war going with a smile. So, subscribe, stay tuned, and I will see you in the next one.